I want to show you the results of every single election, including the ballot measures. There's a lot of people not really talking about them. There were actually some conservative wins, mostly in Texas. But first, let's start in New York. So Ram Mamdani won in large fashion. He got about 50% of the vote, as you can see right here. And we knew that this was gonna always be how it was going to end up because of what's happening. You'll remember on the show last week, I said that I was essentially going to give my left nut to Cuomo if he won, because he stood no chance. He ran a horrible campaign, and many people right now are very, very understandably angry with Curtis Lewa, who was an idiot. I agree that he was an idiot, by the way, because what he did, you'll notice if you add up his numbers and Cuomo's, it still does not surpass Mamdani's. Not quite. If he had just dropped out a few months ago, if he had looked at the polling and said, I'm not even close, he was never in spitting distance. If you look at the polling, it was actually almost spot on for all of it. They had Mamdani up about 10% on Cuomo, and Cuomo about 20% up on Curtis Lewa. And Lewa could have looked at the data on the ground and been like, you know what? I just need to do what's politically best for this city and even for myself. He could have made a deal with Cuomo to work in some sort of a capacity. That's the thing with making deals. You can still win a little bit. Right now, we won none. Nothing. Republicans get nothing out of this. But we could have gotten something if he had just teamed up with Cuomo months ago, and then they could have actually spent time and money building a coalition and getting their turnout up. Instead, they split the vote, and Mamdani won. And it sucks for New York. Like, I've never lived there. I've actually never been there. But this is democracy, and I feel bad for New York. But again, they voted for it. They asked for it. And they're going to show the rest of the nation now what socialism does to a city. Very sad. Moving on to New Jersey now. This is where things get really disappointing. I'm not disappointed with I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. We knew this was going to happen. In New Jersey, I'm more disappointed. I know New Jersey's a blue state, but I do feel it's been trending red, especially if you look at the presidential elections. And I really did think that Jack Ciattarelli had a decent shot. I thought this was going to be close because honestly, I think he's a good candidate. Sometimes we don't run good candidates for whatever reason in these swing states. And New Jersey, I think, is trending towards a swing state. But Jack Ciattarelli, honestly, was a good call, and he got walloped. You can see right here, these were the election results. Mikey Sherrill, who, again, said that parents should not have the opportunity to opt out of LGBTQ theory in schools. So just to show you who we're talking about, this woman is a radical, and she won by 13%. It was not close. Mikey Sherrill, 56%. Jack Ciattarelli, 43%. Horrible. So Democrats hold New Jersey. Now we head to Virginia, which again is a mix of disappointment and what was expected. Earl Sears, I'm sorry, she was never going to win this thing. I said that as well in my show last week. She's not a good candidate, and she lost this thing by 15%. I mean, the polls didn't even show it being that bad. They showed about 10%. It ended up being worse for her. And it's because she just was not a very inspiring candidate. I am not surprised by this, but here's what I am surprised about. Jason Miyares in the Attorney General seat. Just understand what Jason Miyares did, by the way. Usually, if you're going to go vote, splitting the ticket is very rare, especially in a statewide race. So what you had is a 15% discrepancy between Abigail Spanberger in the governorship in Virginia and Earl Sears, and you only had a 6% in Jason Miyares, but he still lost by 6%, which again, 11 points better than someone he was running with. Not good enough. He lost. And that's the real disappointment. Miyares is the incumbent, so that is a flip from red to blue. And again, he lost to Jay Jones, who had a horrible scandal just a month ago where he said he wanted Republicans and their children dead. That is literally what he said, and how 1.7 million people could vote for him is beyond me. And it is scary. It's really scary, to be honest, because I think it's an indictment on Americans, what we're becoming, what we're valuing in politics. I also think it's an indictment on the propaganda that we still face, because we like to talk about the mainstream media failing, how they're going down. That's certainly true if you look at the trends, but there's still millions of people clearly who probably did not even hear about the Jay Jones scandal. That's all I can believe. How could 1.7 million people still want to vote for someone like that? They must have just not heard about it or heard a watered down version of it. And of course, the scarier possibility is that they did hear about it. They knew all the details and they just didn't care. And they voted for him anyway. So those are the main elections that took place. As I said, there were some ballot initiatives as well, and there were some wins, and there were some losses in there as well. Stick with me. There's a few in Maine, Colorado, Texas, and then the big one in California. In Maine, some losses. They wanted to require photo ID for election voting, something so simple. 63% said no in Maine. Maine is a fallen state. I mean, that is horrible. Question 2 is a little more controversial. The question was, should we prohibit gun possession for people courts rule a threat? It's a red flag law. Those are tricky because on one hand, sure, you want to restrict people who are going to hurt themselves or someone else from getting a gun. On the other hand, is that an avenue for courts to take the rights away from citizens, right? We don't pass judgment on people until after the crime. You don't just guess that they're going to commit a crime. So that's tricky. They did vote, again, same margin, 63%, to prohibit gun possession for people courts rule a threat. If you go to Colorado voters, this is officially from CNN, their words, Colorado voters approved a measure to increase taxes on high-income families, use the money to fund universal free breakfast. Whatever, 58% said yes. It's going to probably not make any difference in terms of rich people leaving the state. I don't think it's a massive tax increase, whatever. If you go to Texas now, these are some of the wins. And these were sprawling wins, by the way, in both of these. More than in every county in Texas, except for Austin, more than 10% of the margin went towards 4 on these. And the first one is amending the Texas Constitution to guarantee parental rights, meaning that it enshrines in the state's constitution the idea that a parent has a responsibility to nurture and protect their child. So now it's not teachers, which, how is this not already in the amendment or in their constitution? I don't know, but it is now. 70% said yes, 30% pretty much all from Austin. They also want to amend the Texas Constitution to require U.S. citizenship to vote. 72% said yes. Again, every single county overwhelmingly went yes for this, except for Austin. That was the only one that voted against it. So those are big wins. Basically, at this point, if you live in Maine, move to Texas. If you live in New York City, move to Texas. If you're going to vote Republican and keep those same policies. Now the big one, California, Prop 50, which was to redraw the California congressional map and essentially abolish their nonpartisan commission in favor of just allowing the legislature to do that. 63.8% voted yes. So Gavin Newsom will have the power to redraw those lines and gerrymander, which is not good news. And the great irony of this California amendment passing is it just reverses everything that they tried to change a few years ago. Fox News pointed out this irony on election night. Here is what they said.
Yes vote in particular with Prop 50. The reason voters said they voted yes on Prop 50, 82% of the case, 8 out of 10 voters say it was to counter the GOP changes, not because they saw it was the best way to draw those district lines. Now, if you go back and look at those who said no to the vote, they said their reasoning to do so is that they saw this as not the best way to draw those district lines, while only 34% said it was to stop the Democrats from adding seats in Congress. A couple other things we're taking away from what voters said there in California. We asked the voters and how they would actually like to see these lines drawn. The irony of this, Trace, is that 9 out of 10 voters, even more so, said they'd like to see this done by a nonpartisan commission, not the party in power. Well, that was preempted with the outcome of this vote.
So basically, Californians got tricked. They literally, in the polls, don't want what they voted for. That is the data that we have on the ground. They would prefer a nonpartisan commission, and yet they just voted to destroy that commission. From time to time on the show, guys, big tech does try to censor me, and that's why I've created my new Substack. Substack never censors me. I'm able to talk about things on the show that I wasn't able to get to. Go check it out right now, completely free to you. It comes in your inbox once a week. Again, I talk about something that I did not talk about on the show. Go check it out. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, everybody. Please like the video so other great patriots like yourselves will see it. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give the podcast a rating so people will find it there. And you can tune in every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show, or you can watch another video right here.